the bank will pay for the whole amount. There's no money out of pocket.
Who lives here? Like, what kind of people live in this kind of mansion? Man, that's a good deal.
Oh, yeah. It's
Especially
free money.
if it's going to appreciate like that, Yeah, you're making me think.
How are everyday professionals affording $3.2 million homes in Tokyo? In this episode, Emile Gargis and Shu Matsuo Post unpack the numbers, the mindset, and the reality behind Japan's high-end property market.
Appreciation is crazy. So, if you can't afford it, if you want to increase your net worth, I think that's a great play. It's a game to play.
Yeah. Look, I see it from a different perspective.
Okay.
Because you're thinking, okay, what am I going to get if I buy this property or invest? What's my return going to look like? It's purely the investment. I think if you want to live here, then, and if you're a local resident in Japan, most of what I do are local residents that buy their own personal home.
Yeah.
Right? So they get a home loan.
Yeah.
So if you were to get a home loan for this, the bank will pay for the whole amount. There's no money out of pocket.
No money down.
No money down, right? So this is 500 million yen. That's right at the top end. So mortgages go up to basically 500 million yen. Go-oku is the highest mortgage you can get.
And how much do you, if you're an individual borrowing, what kind of income should you be making to get that kind of loan?
To get that, so hold on.
You said 8 times, right?
Yeah, look, the numbers for most people on like $100,000 to $200,000 salary, about 8 times your annual income. But if you're looking at this, it's going to be different because you're a high net worth individual.
Right.
It's not just you're
income,
not just
but it's like assets.
You're probably not a salary man.
Right.
Okay.
You own a business.
Yeah, right. You're a business owner. They look at it on a larger scale.
Yeah.
But in general, if you want to, for every 100 million yen that you want to borrow, about 13 million yen of annual income, so just under $100,000 of annual for Ichioku.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of ordinary people won't buy a property that's 500 mil like this, but 200 to 300 million is pretty common. If you're a power couple, right, you can easily have 40 million yen Yonsenman income of combined of 2 professionals.
Right.
Is not unrealistic.
Yeah. So we saw some residents passing through, about to go play golf or came back from a run. Who lives here? What kind of people live in this kind of mansion?
Look, this one is a very nice new mansion. Part of it, the reason it's expensive is 1, the location, 2, the view. This is just spectacular.
Yeah.
And also it's very new.
Okay.
And it's 100 square meters. It's just a lot.
Right.
Right. If you were to put this in a rural area, it would be a fraction of the price.
Right.
So a lot of it is the location.
Sure.
Who would live here? So, people are like executives of companies, right? Now realistically, even a software engineer, right? I mean, I'm not talking about this property.
Yeah.
But properties that are 100 million to 200 million yen.
Yeah.
If you're a software engineer at one of the big IT companies, you can sort of get a loan of that much.
Huh.
People that
making 300, 400, $500,000 a year kind of thing.
Oh, no, half of that.
Half of that?
Yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And remember, people often will also, maybe they've got stock options as well.
That's right.
So let's say,
they look at that as well.
Yeah, let's say they're on 20 million yen, Niseman, of annual income. They can borrow about 160 million yen.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. On that. And now with the low yen as well, often they also get stock bonuses.
Yeah.
And so for several years, they've got stock bonuses. It's okay, well, I can put another 50 or 100 million into it to buy a home like this.
Yeah.
So although the bar has gone up, you used to be able to get lots in that 100 million to 150 million yen.
Yeah.
Now it's 150 to 300.
Yeah.
Is what this area has gone up to.
Yeah.
But there are people ordinary people in sort of professional lawyers, lots of expats that are brought here on, how is it on, I don't say on the expat package, but expats that are sent over here, 15 million yen to 30 million yen is not an unreasonable salary for an expat that's brought over.
Wow. Okay. No, you're making me think. This is doable for a lot.
Yeah.
more people than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like even if you think about it in terms of, the international schools,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
International schools are about 3 million yen per kid.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 kids, that's 9 million.
Yeah.
If the company, and a lot of times the company says, we'll pay for your kids' education and you give you housing allowance.
Yeah.
So the two basic expat package items are kids' international schooling
Right.
and housing allowance.
Right.
Let's say 500,000 yen to 600,000 yen a month is a housing allowance.
Uh-huh.
So you got 6 or 7 million yen a year of housing allowance and 9 to 10 million yen a year of school allowance. So just those allowances are 15 to 20 million yen.
Yeah.
That's just allowance.
Right.
So imagine their salary package.
Yeah.
So if you consider people in those kind of incomes, then it's not so unrealistic.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are people that can buy it. And these are ordinary families that they've just been successful in their career.
In their career. Yeah.
can do
So
it.
if you bought this with no money down, with the current interest rates, what's the mortgage looking like on a monthly basis?
So for each 10 million yen
Yeah.
is right now is about 260,000.
260,000. Okay. So times 5. So
A million and
million. Okay.
1.2 million yen.
1.2 million.
that right?
Which is about
I must have busted out my
what is it,
calculator.
like
8 grand.
8 grand, a little over 8 grand per month.
And that's principal and interest. Like that's interest rates of
Very low. Yeah.
0.5
Very low
to
interest rate,
0.7%. Yeah, well, 1.3 million yen
1.3 million yen a month
roughly.
on a mortgage, and it's not going. You're not paying rent. You're actually paying towards your principal. most
Yeah,
of it.
I'd say about 10% of that is
Yeah.
interest.
Right.
So you pay back, 15 million yen a year?
Yeah.
13 mil is principal.
Man, that's a good deal.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's
Especially
free money.
if it's gonna appreciate like that. Yeah, you're making me face. Maybe I should get one of these.
I had a guy buy a property in, not far from here, I should have gone there actually.
Yeah.
It was roughly 150 million yen.
Mhm.
He bought it for no money down. So all the closing costs and everything as well was included. So it came to about, his loan was I think about 160 million yen. It's almost 10 million yen of closing costs. His loan was 160. He bought it roughly 3 years ago. And because of his situation, he had to leave Japan. He got transferred shortly after. So he's renting it out for basically the same as the mortgage repayment. I think like about 500,000 yen a month he's renting it out for,
Yeah.
just a bit less. But it pays all the management fees and the mortgage.
Sure.
So it's pretty much break even for him in terms of cash flow. So he bought it for nothing, break even. And we just checked, like he bought what, 3 or 4 years ago, like early COVID times or mid-COVID. And I think it was 190 mil is what a comparable property is going for in the building.
Wow.
So that's a 40 million yen, 40 million increase. And he's held it doing nothing,
Yeah.
right? It's just break even.
That's awesome. I wouldn't expect more than break even for anything in Tokyo based. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in this area,
Yeah.
especially central, prices are going up because there's no more space unless you tear down that place and oops. And that's not that the house there is beautiful. It's never going down.
Yeah. So if you were to rent this out, how much could you rent this out for?
Oh god, I don't do rentals, so I need to really check about comparables.
Yeah.
But if you look at, another simple thing to look at is a property this price
Yeah.
in Tokyo is about a 2% rental yield. So this age, this location, maybe 2.5% rental yield.
Yeah.
So if you want to do that, 10 to 15 million yen a year.
A year.
Oh, so
Okay.
10, yeah, about, was that 10 million yen a year?
Okay. So like
So
less than 1 million.
yeah, a little less than,
okay.
than 1 million.
Yeah.
So with property like this, it's a little bit negative cash flow. When you're only on 2% yield
Yeah. I mean, I would say-
versus the loan,
Yeah.
you need to be right on about 3.2
Yeah.
to be break even with the mortgage repayments.
Right. Yeah.
But again, if
You're
you
not making money there. You're making money
in the equity, good, yeah. Oh, finally someone gets it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just all about cash flow.
Yeah.
It's you're paying off the loan.
Yeah.
So that guy who bought the property and said and he's renting it out, I think it was about 3.3% was the yield we calculated on it from his original purchase price. So it's right on break even,
Yeah.
but in 35 years, it's going to be paid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get to enjoy cash flow if you want to,
Yeah.
renting it out.
Or it's at least 150 million yen property, if not whatever it's gone up to.
Yeah.
If he exits.
Nice. Wow.
So it's a different approach to like, hey, I've got cash. Let me just put the cash in and see how much will it increase? Because that is also, very much speculation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you want to even consider the reverse, if you bought 5 years ago at 100 million yen, and now it's gone up to 150 million, increased 50%. You say, okay, I've made 50% on it. But one, what would your money have done in the stock market as well? That's the opportunity cost, essentially, if it was a cash purchase. And the other thing is, what was the exchange rate 5 years ago?
Yeah, that's
right.
True. Yeah.
So if you think about the US dollar exchange rate of it, maybe if it was, what was it, 100, 110?
5 years ago. Yeah.
If you bought it, 120, and now it's 150.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, I put it in, but I've lost that much, like 20%, 30% in exchange.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
So did I really make the same in US dollar terms? So there's so many different factors to think about. It's not just, I'm going to put my money in and it's going to grow.
Yeah.
So it's not so easy. For me, the big value add is if you are getting a home loan. So a Japanese home loan, I think, is just fantastic value. I recommend if you're eligible for it. So it means you live in Japan and you work here.
Yeah.
That's the best.
It's
free money. Free money includes life insurance.
Yeah.
If you die, the loan goes to zero. So that 0.5% or 0.7% rate, that includes life insurance.
Oh, wow.
Which is ridiculous when you think, if I want $1 million life insurance policy, the annual premium is probably more than 0.5%.
Yeah.
Just to keep that policy. So I kind of think of it as you buy a life insurance policy and get a free house to live in whilst you maintain that policy. Is one way I think about it. Let me think. There was another point that was interesting. It's also the lifestyle that you have. It's not purely about just the money aspect and what's going to give you the most later. It's what kind of lifestyle do you want to have? A lot of the foreign cash buyers, and I think your kind of properties and your foreign buyers will be similar. They love Japan. It's not purely as an investment. It's not, hey, what can I buy in Japan for this money? A straight up American investor who has never been to Japan, has no connection with Japan, is going to be very hard pressed to put their money into Japanese real estate. When an American investor contacts me and says, hey, I'm looking to buy a property, what can I expect in Tokyo, sort of a safe, typical property? I say, usually yields, like in central Tokyo, 3% is high. But in the suburbs of Tokyo, 4 or 5% is pretty good. 6 or 7 is if it's an older, more rundown, further away property, less attractive. And they say, well, why would I invest my money there when I can get 5% on treasury bonds in the US? I said, I don't think it's for you. It's not, exactly. I can't convince you to do that. But the people who do decide to buy are the ones that maybe they've lived in Japan before, or the spouse is Japanese. They have a long-term connection to Japan. They've always wanted to buy in Japan, but now with the low yen, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's probably your experience as well. They've always wanted to buy. Now's a good time.
100%. So I don't just looking at the numbers, just buy S&P 500 index funds,
Correct,
and you'll be happy. You don't have to do anything. Just hold it for forever and 7% return every year, compound interest.
And it's local, it's liquid, you can get fractions out at any stage.
But it's so much more than that, real estate, right? And that's why we all the risks and owning a piece of Japan, right? I think that's a huge part as well.
So for those people that have connection to Japan, that have always wanted to be here, or again, Japanese spouse, they know we want to go regularly twice a year. The spring and the autumn or the fall times are beautiful. That's like what today is. Really nice times to be here. Summer is terrible. Winter, unless you like snow sports, it's probably too cold. You don't want to be here. So a lot of these investors, they're here for 4 to 6 months a year. They come in the spring for 2-3 months, and they come in the autumn time. And that usually, even if they're just on a tourist visa, they have 90 days. So it works perfectly for them. So a lot of retirees that they have a house in, you know, in Europe, in Australia or Asia or the US, but they still come here, like to come twice a year, then they're the ones who I see that are buying, that are the cash buyers, that are also doing it as sort of an investment.
Awesome.